Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to decode the science and the art behind marketing communication. We're going to break down exactly how messages are built to connect with, well, you. I want you to think about this for a second. Out of the thousands of ads you see, why do a few of them just stick? Is it magic? Not really. It's a super carefully crafted process. And today, we're pulling back the curtain to show you exactly how it's done. All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start inside the consumer's mind. Then we'll map out the blueprint for communication. After that, we'll get into the fun stuff, the art of persuasion. And finally, we'll see how it all clicks together in the real world. Okay, let's dive right in. If you want to send a message that actually lands, you first have to understand its destination. And that destination is the complex, fascinating world inside a consumer's mind. You know, every single purchase, whether it's big or small, kind of follows this path. It all starts when you realize you have a need. Oh no, I'm out of coffee. Then you start searching for info. Maybe you're checking reviews online. You look at your options. Should I get my usual or try that new brand? You make the purchase and then, and this is a big one, you think about whether it was a good decision. See, a marketer's job is definitely not over once you've swiped your card. They have to fight this nagging feeling called cognitive dissonance. That little voice in your head that asks, did I make the right choice? It's why you get those follow-up emails and satisfaction surveys. They're trying to reassure you that, yes, you absolutely did. And this whole process isn't happening in a bubble, right? It's influenced by everything, from your deepest motivations, like are you buying that car for safety or for status, all the way to the culture you grew up in and the friends you hang out with. We are constantly filtering information, paying attention to some things while totally ignoring others. And all of that shapes what we decide to buy. So now that we kind of get our destination, the consumer's mind, we need a map. We need a blueprint to guide our message there, and that's what we're looking at next. At its heart, pretty much all communication follows this basic model. You've got a source with an idea who encodes it into a message. That message travels through a channel, like TV or social media, to a receiver who then decodes it. But here's the catch. The whole thing can get messed up by noise. And noise can be anything from a bad internet connection to your own personal biases that stop you from hearing the message the way it was intended. Okay, so how does a consumer actually process a message once it gets through all that noise? The elaboration likelihood model, or ELM, gives us a fantastic way to think about this. It basically says that how deeply we think about a message or elaborate on it all comes down to two things: how motivated we are to pay attention, and whether we have the ability to understand it. This is so cool. The ELM gives us two different paths a message can take in our brain. Think of it like a highway versus a scenic route. The first one, the central route, that's the highway. You take this when you're super involved, like you're buying a new car, you're looking at all the specs, reading every review. The other path is the peripheral route, the scenic one. This happens when you're less involved and you're more easily swayed by simple things, like a catchy tune, a cool celebrity, or a funny joke. The highway leads to a lasting opinion, but the scenic route, that's much more temporary. All right, we have our destination and our map. Now it's time to build the vehicle, the persuasive message itself. This is where the hard science of communication really meets the art of creativity. So let's start with who's driving this vehicle. Because who delivers the message, whether it's a doctor you trust, a friend you relate to, or a celebrity you admire, can completely change how you feel about it. A source really gets its power from three main things. First, credibility. Think of a doctor recommending a medicine. That leads to internalization. You actually believe it. Then there's attractiveness, like a celebrity you love. That leads to identification. You want to be like them. And finally, there's power, which is less common in ads, but it's all about getting you to comply to get some kind of reward. Now, let's talk about the design of our vehicle. It's not just what you say, it's how you say it. The structure of your argument is absolutely critical. So, one of the biggest choices is this. Do you go with a one-sided or a two-sided message? A one-sided message just talks about all the good stuff, and that's fine if your audience already likes you. But a two-sided message, one that actually admits a flaw, that can be incredibly powerful. It builds so much trust, especially with a skeptical audience. The classic example is Buckley's cough syrup. It tastes awful, and it works. Genius. Next up, the engine. What's going to power this thing? Are we going to appeal to people's logical, rational minds, or are we going to tug at their heartstrings with an emotional appeal? One really effective rational appeal is comparative advertising, where a brand literally calls out its competitor by name. It's a super bold move, and you'll often see challenger brands do this to put themselves in the same conversation as the big market leader. It's a great way to grab some of that spotlight. Now, on the emotional side, using fear is a real balancing act. See, a little bit of fear can be a great motivator, but there's a tipping point. If you use too much fear, it can totally backfire, and your audience will just tune you out completely to protect themselves. And of course, there's humor. Who doesn't love a funny ad? It's awesome for grabbing attention and making people feel good about a brand. But it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Sometimes the joke is so good that you forget what the product was. And humor can get old really, really fast. Okay, wow. We've been on quite a journey. Through the mind, through communication models, through persuasive tactics. So let's bring it all home and put it all together. What we've seen today is that the best marketing isn't just a random flash of creativity. It's a deep, strategic, psychological process. It all starts with truly understanding the consumer. Then you use a solid communication model as your map. And finally, you build the perfect message, perfectly engineered to connect. And we'll leave you with this final thought. Now that you have the code, now that you can see the strategy behind the slogan, which ad are you never, ever going to look at the same way again?